let's say you have a bigger ABC. He went through the activating event, which was the distress, the despair. Then you gave his voice a voice, as you said in the demonstration. That would be the B. And then his consequences were he's having issues with his wife because she was mad about him not taking one of the job offers. Then at the end, you gave his ABC circle your ABC circle. Does that make sense? No? You explained what ABC was, even though in the discussion that you guys were having, I saw that you went through ABC without really having to explain it. No?
Okay, I did explain it though.
At the end, but while you're having the dialogue.
Oh, right.
You went through A, B, yeah, you went through A, B, and C.
You actually explain the theory.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it's very typical. It's a teaching model. So I do like to, when I use it, explain, like, again, for me, it's giving them a way to conceptualize what's going on. And so in order to do that, I can't use abstract terms like cognitive distortion, and experiential whatever and stuff like that. So A, B, C, they can grab onto it and use it. So, yeah.
I wasn't sure if that answered her question.
Did that answer your question? Bill, what are you hearing her say?
I think I saw the same, or I sort of was thinking the same thing. It was almost like you didn't need to explain it to him, but then you did. You were already going through it, and it seemed like the client was catching on to where you were going with it.
Right.
But then you continued on to, well, here's A, B, C. So it sort of felt like that wasn't necessary. So
Right.
do you always explain when you're, when you're going through the process, do you always explain to the client, here we're doing A, B, and C? Or could you just simply incorporate it into the session without having to be...
Well, if I didn't incorporate in the session, it would be more of a CBT approach. And I do that sometimes too. I don't pull out the whole ABC model sometimes. So, but for illustration purposes, for this, I wanted to be really clear with him that, okay, here's a way to conceptualize. Here's the ABC. And maybe I did hammer it in too much.
I thought it was great with the ABC, like at the end, like for the actual, or the A, you actually related it to what he was going through. So, okay, and then the B and the C. Okay. I thought it was great how you had applied the ABC to what he was going through. So at the end, it was like you were summarizing. So you were actually giving A, like the value of what he was going through, and the B and the C. Is that what you were talking about? Yeah. And that, I thought that was a good technique or whatever, too.
Okay, so in your example, the consequence that you pulled out was that he was having this despair, not being able to follow through, finding a new job. If you focused your consequence on the relationship with his wife and his family, would the beliefs and the perceptions still have been the same? Would you still have been looking at the despair, or would you have, I'm not good enough for my job, or would you have pulled out different beliefs and perceptions?
Oh, possibly. So yeah, that's a good question because I go with what's most relevant to the client at the time, and he was really this whole despair thing, and that was leading to a lack of motivation, which was kind of reinforcing because he wasn't doing anything, and that was reinforcing all these feelings and everything. So that was most immediate for him. If he was coming in saying, yeah, I've got this despair thing, the job thing and everything, but the major thing for me is, my wife just keeps coming down on me about this whole thing, and I wanted to stop. That would be a whole different, it might be similar thoughts, but I would be going down kind of a different path. So it's whatever's most relevant to them. That's what I go with.
I was just wondering, because he expressed so much despair, if it occurred to me, he was really curious as to why he had 2 job offers and turned them both down. And that's something that is like the natural curiosity that you kind of have to get. At any point, did you think about suicide risk, or did it pop into your head to at all think about asking any questions about?
I would have, yeah. I was hoping you weren't going to go there. It's like, Bill, don't do it. Yeah, that would be, but I would definitely, speaking of beating around the bushes, I would beat around that bush for sure, you know.
In a session, whatever.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's in such a situation, I would really need to explore that for sure.
In a real session, do you ever think about using that visual aid?
I'll sometimes get a piece of paper out and draw it out for him. It just depends. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Dr. Ellie Stretch is one of our faculty members here. There's actually a video in one of the mental health courses. She has a whiteboard in her office, and she holds it in her lap, and she draws out absolutely everything. I think it's helpful. It's just, I don't know, not my style. And I kind of improv with what comes to my mind, what connects for me might connect with them. So, there's one more over here.
Here you go.
I'll call it a day.
I was just going to ask about adolescents. Do you use this technique with teenagers? Because a lot of their thought processing, from my experience, is very irrational anyway. So even changing it,
Yeah.
they keep going back to, the negativity or different aspects.
Right. Some of them get it. Some of them can do really well with this. Some of them just can't. You know, it's that's where more of a reality therapy sort of approach would come in for me. Talking about really identifying choices, and I told Bill, switch around to reality therapy, pull out the WDEP, and look at wants and then decisions that they're making, and evaluation of plans and stuff like that, and putting them in control of understanding that their choices are what is creating their situation, their reality right now. But some get the REBT. It just depends, So, okay, anything pressing? One more really, really important one over here, and then we'll have to wrap it up. There you go.
I wouldn't go that far, but I see that this theory has a lot to do with internal dialogue and what that client is telling themselves, whether it be positive or negative. My question to you is that as you're going through this process with the client and they are hell-bent on staying on the negative, and it just keeps going around and around a circle in this circle of despair, what would you pull out of your toolbox at that point to...
It wouldn't be this. I wouldn't be forcing them and arguing with them. And don't you see? That's how we create resistant clients. Situation like that, gosh, man. I could get creative with Gestalt therapy, because there's a lot of here and now emotional stuff that's going on in intensity. You could bring that out a little bit more.
So there may be a little role-playing technique going on.
Could be, I don't know. Could do it like that. Another would be CBT, Socratic questioning, okay, so this is such a horrible thing and whatever, so if this does happen, this consequence does happen, then what? Okay, so then, you lose the house and your wife and kids leave you, and then what? And then you just kind of keep scaling down until, that's one way to kind of really highlight irrationality. Like with me, when I step back and look at it, it's like, okay, I'm not going to die. I'm not going to get fired. You guys might think I'm ridiculous and whatever, but probably won't hate me. My colleagues, they already do. But
Not true.
But yeah, so that person-centered would be a good fit for that too. Allowing them to be in that place that they're at now and just, be a part of kind of helping that unfold. So, yeah. All right. Thank you guys very much for your patience. It's my first time.